Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2 and kitties. And I love that there's so much buried in this system that, well, not buried. There's so much wealth of it, that of stuff in the system, that some of it's buried. And, like, when I started researching Pathfinder 2 and trying to learn the system, there are some things that I didn't learn at first that are in the system that are cool. So I just want to bring up one of them, and I'm going to do that in the next video, well, in an upcoming video as well. I don't know if it's the next one or not. But Aftermath feats and Deviant feats can be used to create a band of superheroes. They're really fun, just like sort of pre-packaged powers that take a class feat that anybody can take. And as a GM, you can also just assign people these things. So the Aftermath feats go from level 4 to level 16. And yes, they vary in power and usefulness, but you can also make up your own. So I want to talk about the Aftermath feats. I'm going to do the blurb from the beginning first, from the Dark Archive. And then I'm going to talk about some of the feats. Aftermath feats. Stories abound of a battle-scarred hero bathed in the blood of the fearsome dragon, awakening to a strange new power. This stuff is all throughout our world's mythology. The conflict changes their very being, leaving an unforgettable reminder that awakens greater power with a unique kind of heroism. Aftermath feats, which are always rare, represent new powers caused by dangerous encounters with the weird and deadly. The prerequisites of an Aftermath feat can be met only at a dramatic moment in your story. Slitting the throat of a drowsy drake in a random encounter likely won't awaken any latent abilities, but defeating a mighty dragon at the end of a long, heroic journey just might. Moof. Cat butt in the screen. Moof. Moof. Okay. A fool who runs around dousing themselves in the blood of every dragon they slay is more likely to contract some sort of disease than manifest a new power. In my world, it would be a curse and a power. That'd be a weird disease, though. I mean, a weird intro to a disease. What would you do? Every Aftermath feat is a class feat, but can be taken by a character of any class, provided the character has gone through the unlikely ordeal that unlocks it. The feat gains the appropriate trait for the class of the character who selected it. So if you're a witch taking it, it gains the witch trait. I don't know why it had to be witch, but that's me. If an appropriate story event occurs that fits the prerequisites of an Aftermath feat of your level or lower, the GM might permit you to immediately retrain a class feat into the appropriate Aftermath feat. An Aftermath feat isn't something you can typically remove once you have one, so you can't retrain it in the normal manner. But there could be ways of doing so, like going on a quest to get it removed via a curse from a prophet in a mountaintop. Getting it removed like you would a curse. The GM might determine a specific quest or other procedure you could use to remove the Aftermath feat. Obviously, I just said that. Alright, so these each have their own flavor and prerequisite and sometimes drawback. But what I love about them is that they can be thrown at any character at any point in any adventure to make them feel different than everyone else. So this is the most boring one, and it's long, but it's funny, so I have to read it. It's level 4, Devil's Eye. Prerequisite: you made a bargain with a devil or won a legal case or other similar duel of wits against a devil. Now, this could be not necessarily just a legal case. This could just be like you fought a devil and succeeded, and you can choose this feat if your GM says it's okay. But what I like about this and many of these is that you can write into the character's backstory that this thing happened, and so you have this feat, this talent, this skill, this innate power. Your experience in the finer points of bargaining with the devil has awakened a sinister power that now inhabits your left eye. The eye is the same shape and iris color as your normal eye would be, but the sclera is a deep red instead of white, and the pupil is a narrow vertical slit. Fucking creepy. The eye grants you an abnormal understanding of the loopholes and legal processes employed to trap poor creatures that don't know any better. You gain the objection reaction. You also become an expert in legal lore and gain a +1 circumstance bonus to any check you make to read or negotiate a treatise, contract, or similar text. Yeah, that won't come up that often. Who cares? At 7th level, you become a master of legal lore, and at 15th level, you become legendary in legal lore. You can use legal lore in place of perception to detect verbal loopholes, double entendres, hidden meanings, code, or contradictions in a conversation you can hear. That's not just a legendary. You can just use this in many different situations where you would be trying to detect deception. This doesn't let you fully understand coded speech, but alerts you to its presence. Without the objection ability, this is totally useful! And, saves you on investing on skills, if you care about that sort of thing. Here's the ability it gives you. Objection, reaction, fortune trait, frequency once per minute. Trigger, you're about to attempt a saving throw against a linguistic effect. Effect, your devil's eye crackles with infernal glee as you discover a loophole in the wording of the triggering effect. The fucking wording. You roll your saving throw twice, taking the higher result. Yeah, this isn't going to come up all the time, but when it does, it's fucking funny. And it's hard to get this ability unless you are a Nephilim. Or Tiefling, depending on what book you're looking at. This is just fun. And you have to scream objection every time. Just cause. Oh, I'm sorry. I love that one. Alright, so you see how that could, shape your character. It's really low level, and I see no problem with starting off with that at first level. It's a class feat, so, you'd have to be able to take a class feat. Yeah, hi. But you could also, just ask your GM if you could start with it and then, not take a later feat, sort of, offset the cost for it. So that later when you get to a class feat level, 2nd level or whatever, that you could normally take, you don't take it. Also, some of these are just damned useful, like Jelly Body. This has the magical and transmutation traits, prerequisites. You've been reduced to 0 hit points while engulfed by an ooze. Any of my players know that's not hard to do. And if you've ever fought oozes in Pathfinder 2 or D&D, you know that's not hard. Because these things suck. Oozes are evil, kind of sadistic things to throw at your... they're fun. Some of the ooze that surrounded you made its way permanently into parts of your body, turning you soft to the touch and semi-transparent enough to show bones. Yes, that's correct. I like some of these just because they're fucking weird. And they are. You gain resistance equal to your level to precision damage and damage from critical hits. Yeah, not always useful, but it does reduce the impact of critical hits, and crits suck. This would be really useful for a tanky kind of character. You can submerge up to 1 bulk of items within your body by sticking them inside of yourself. While the protrusion of the item is still visible from the outside, the items don't count toward you in being encumbered, or your maximum bulk while stored in you. You can interact to retrieve or store an item submerged into your body. Sure, it's visible, but not if you have a shirt or armor on, because the shirt or armor isn't part of your body. So you can hide stuff on yourself really easily. Up to 1 bulk of items. So there are ancestries that do something similar. So this just allows you to port that ability into any build that you want, any ancestry, any character. And I had to recently, I did create aspects of an ooze ancestry for one of my players a few months ago. Well, about a year ago now. And I took inspiration from this. I could have just used this directly, but if somebody wants to play an ooze kind of character, just give them this, because it's fun. Maybe make them pay a first level ancestry feat or something, because it's not break the bank bullshit. It's just cool. I don't see why it should be 6th level. And some of these, I think it's Siphon Life. Oh yeah, so Siphon Life requires an unarmed attack, but it replaces other strikes because it is its own strike that takes 2 actions. So it's level 10, sure, but it's pretty balanced because you can't do other special strikes at the same time. So let me read this to you. Siphon Life, 2 actions, level 10 feat. It has the traits aside from rare and aftermath. Flourish, magical necromancy negative. Prerequisites. You've been reduced to 0 hit points by an enemy with the negative trait. Before I go on, I just want to say, I have read a few comic books that start with somebody just being drained to death, and they wake up a superhero. That's kind of what this reminds me of. Experiences with necromantic energy have left a permanent mark on you, casting you in a death-like pallor, chilling your body temperature to be ice cold, turning your very blood black, and giving you the power to rip out an enemy's life force. Strike with an unarmed attack. If you hit and the target is a living creature, it takes 4d6 additional negative damage depending on its fortitude save. If the target takes any negative damage, you gain an equal number of temporary hit points, which last for 1 minute. Now, because it's 4d6 damage, the level 10 feat makes sense. If you want to give it to people at a lower level, just remove like a d6 for every 2 levels. Because like even if they're just making a regular strike, and the person fails their save and they take any negative damage, and then the player character gains temporary hit points. It's a very vampire-rich feel, or Duskwalker, if somebody's looking for that. So anyway, fortitude save. Critical success, the enemy takes no additional negative damage and becomes temporarily immune for a minute. The immunity kind of sucks, but you could target other enemies with this. Success, the enemy takes half the additional negative damage as you probably expected. Failure, the enemy takes full additional negative damage. Critical failure, the enemy takes double the additional negative damage. It's cool. It's powerful. It's not something that like I tried giving this to a monk player character and he didn't use it because his abilities require a specific strike, especially if you're in stances. So this doesn't just get tacked on to everything they do. It's a separate activity, and it's flourish, and it takes 2 actions. You'd probably only want this if you're a melee character anyway. But this really feels like a Death Knight. Or like I said, a vampire. You can also just change the type of damage to give it a different feel. Like, you're infused with the fire element because you're an Ifrit. Ifrit? I'm just going to call it Ifrit, whatever. And so you can take this at low levels and it does fire damage. And the creature has to take the fire damage to give you temporary hit points. As a GM, you can try these out for your player characters by just saying, hey, you gain this. You start noticing these weird feelings or smell certain strange things, or the texture of your body changes. Because it feels like it's something that the character is growing into and has just spontaneously happened to them. And the player can choose not to take the feat, and then like the ability or the energy fades. Or whatever, they get a certain blessing from a deity, or they walk into a magical place and they notice that right then the energy that they had been gathering fades because they didn't take the feat. But this one, I'm heavily considering giving one of my players. They're 12th level, so this is 10th level. It's not that much of a big deal, really, but it's just fun to give people spontaneous superpowers. So gift to the Hoard. As the traits magical and transmutation prerequisites, you have succeeded at an important task given by a dragon, such as procuring a special treasure for their hoard. In pleasing the cravings of a mighty dragon, you have deigned to impart some of their magical essence into your body. Your eyes begin to glow and change color, while your limbs and neck grow a veneer of scales, all the same color as the associated dragon, accompanied by a near insatiable desire to amass a hoard of your own. So what I would do for that is not just the veneer of scales, not just like scales on the skin, but also give it the energy type of that kind of dragon in a visual or tactile effect. Like smokiness to your form, or like the scales drip with water, or they flow like lava and they're bright. You gain the Dragon Breath Sorcerer Bloodline spell, emulating the breath of the associated dragon, and a focus pool of 1 focus point. If you already have a focus pool, increase your number of focus points by 1. You refocus by counting and arranging your treasure. This truly infuses someone with the power of a dragon to breathe fire. Some of the deviant feats would like complement this or contradict this, depending, but you can make a group of superheroes, regardless of what classes they choose, out of deviant feats and aftermath feats because of how much these things influence the character's growth and change them. Plus, weirdly, players like the GM fucking with their personalities. Like, if somebody finds something and you have a curse on it that just says, you like this thing a lot, it seems important to you, it's beautiful, it warms your heart, it has no in-game effect, but they love role-playing the shit out of that. And so doing things like this where it changes their drives and maybe even changes them physically, people love it when the GM gets involved. And this is a really good excuse to do it. And remember that it doesn't have to be just these sets of situations that say you have to have gotten something for Dragon's Hoard. It could be that you have immersed yourself underwater for a full day because you're strange and you wake up with water powers. It turned out that lake was enchanted and you didn't even know it. And now you have dragon breath for ice or water bludgeoning damage, whatever. Just throw this on people and see if they like it. It's fun. It's a cool option. Okay, one more. It's the last one I'll talk about because I have a lot to add to it. And then you can just go on Archives of Nethys to see the rest of the Aftermath feats because they're cool and useful. Or I guess, buy Dark Archive. You can still. It's digital. Lingering Chill, level 4 feat. It has the cold trait prerequisites. You've been brought to 0 hit points by an enemy that has the cold trait or an enemy's ability that has the cold trait. And remember, this could work for any element. Just change the flavoring of the element. The chill of ice entered your veins and never left, adjusting the internal temperature of your body. Your breath comes out in puffs, and your skin is as cold and smooth as the ice in your veins. You can cast Ray of Frost as a primal innate cantrip. You gain resistance to cold damage equal to half your level, and you're protected from severe cold temperatures. Obviously useful. 4th level, that's even pretty powerful and handy if you want to resist a certain element. But something that I wanted to say is that think of other applications that could be applied, that could be added to this, like Lingering Chill. Like in previous versions of D&D and Ravenloft, there was a feat basically called Cold One. It was a creature template, and a Cold One had resistance to natural cold. Like they just were comfortable in cold temperatures, not like resistance to the damage. And undead couldn't perceive them, mindless undead, because they were the same temperature as their surroundings, like the undead are. And that would be a fun thing to add on to this Lingering Chill. And also, those same creatures that had the Cold One, or Lingering Chill, maybe, they had a stunted emotional affect. Like, it was frustrating for them that they couldn't express themselves as well as they previously could because they didn't understand emotion anymore. They were disconnected from it. This would be a really fun feat to start off as with an android or some other non-humanoidish creature. To just have that split between other creatures and yourself. You feel apart from them, separated. So there's just other things that you could add on to or extrapolate from the ability. Okay. It was fun talking about Aftermath feats. I like these things a lot. I'm going to be throwing some into the next couple of live streams. So if you want to see them, you'll see how and when they can be played out. Thank you for letting me borrow your eyes and ears, or just one of those, depending. Maybe you're reading this, or maybe you're just listening to it. And if you're a patron, thank you for being here all the time. I really appreciate it. The cats appreciate it because they get yummier treats. And if you are not a patron, or if you are, the patron giveaway for this next month, so for January, at the end of January, we'll be giving away this little guy, little gemstone dragon guy. He's super articulated. It's 3D printed, but this is freaking awesome. There's so much stuff you can do with a 3D printer. Anyway, he says hello. So there's a link to Patreon below if you want. Or just go to the Discord link in the description and join us to chat and bullshit about nerdy things. Because it's fun. And we also have build contests. It's really just build prompts. And talk about food and other nerdy stuff, because that's who we are. Yeah. If you want to see any live streams, catch up on them. Like I mentioned, there's live streams. Or if you want to see any of the builds I've made, because I have weird ideas and they're fun. And please come to Discord, make builds with us. Okay, thanks, bye.